So after several weeks of delays, mainly because I came down with something, was originally going to do some recordings of these issues, and then ultimately had to delay again because I had some other videos I had to work on. We're back with Jonathan Hickman's House of X and Powers of 10, or I call it Powers of X. I know several issues have come out. We're going to do these one at a time to catch up and everything. And we're here to talk about issue number 2 of Powers of 10. This one is taking place immediately after the whole events in House of X regarding Moore McTaggart and revealed to be a mutant and Life 6 missing. So we'll probably figure that out later down the road. I have a theory, but I'll get to that when I get to issue 3 of Powers of X. But yeah, we're getting to a point where it's starting to get more interesting, and this leads to some questions I have, and then I had thought about it for a couple of minutes after I had first read it, and then gave it more thought over the coming weeks. But as more information was coming out, but yeah, let's get right into this. Powers of X opens up with another quote from Magneto this time about talking about a chasm between him and Charles, and that gap that cannot be crossed, and with each passing day he fears it never will be. So we move forward, and immediately Charles Xavier comes to cross that chasm. That was quick. We cut to the X-Men Year 1, and we see Moore McTaggart and Charles Xavier, now wheelchair bound, because when we last saw him in Powers of House of X, when he met Moore McTaggart in the beginning, it was him walking around and being all happy, which leads to a very interesting question I have, but I'll get to that. They stop to the Bermuda Triangle, so expect horrors and whatnot. Magneto arrives and basically seemingly looking like he was passing through and then just realized they were there. So this is what he says to them. They say it is easy to become lost in this part of the world, that those who set sail on these waters are often never heard from again. But you are beyond the superstitions of man, and though lost, I know you have never lost your way. So what are you doing here, Charles? I'm here for you, old friend. I cannot tell you how much it would please me to know that you and I would stand side by side in the coming days. But I have learned hard lessons and no longer believe there is a place in this world for both of your dreams and mine, old friend. And what if I told you we were both wrong? That both our dreams are fleeting and too small for the coming days? I find that hard to believe, you losing your faith. Tell me, Dr. McTaggart, you're a specialist specializing in behavior of mutants. Do you have any key insight into what ails the good professor this day? Well, I may be the only person on this planet who truly understands what ails you both, but I have to warn you, my truth is profound and life-changing. It's primal, and I wonder if you are capable of bearing the weight of it. It really comes down to one thing, Magneto. In this world, who determines what is truly good and what is truly evil? I do. I decide. Then open your mind to me. Open it to us. And together, we will figure out what to do about tomorrow. Magneto remains silent for a couple of seconds. And how do I know this isn't a game, some ploy to defeat me? How do I know you're not going to tamper with my mind? He asks a legitimate question. Please, just this once. Trust me. And so Magneto removes the helmet, allowing Charles Xavier to broadcast basically all the lives of Dr. Moore McTaggart. And thus, I'm pretty sure I keep pronouncing her name wrong. I just have that habit. Magneto writhes in pain on the ground from these visions that he's seen of the 9 lives of Moore McTaggart, and then he comes to the realization that she has been a mutant and that she has the ability of reincarnation. She then goes to give him back the helmet, explaining that yes, those lives I am a mutant, and that was as real as it gets. Magneto obviously shocked into submission because now he just realized that basically all his plans would be for nothing because all eventualities failed on this. And Charles Xavier explains that yes, that now they believe that the only idea left for them is to have Moira McTaggart Magneto and Charles Xavier finally come together on a common with these revelations to finally prepare for the eventual tomorrow, aka the nation of Krakoa. And Magneto says, Charles, you know better than this. I'm not interested in survival. Well, that's perfectly understandable considering that you're a Holocaust survivor, so surviving was your key component, and then you didn't want to stop being a survivor. You didn't want to continue being a survivor. You wanted to endure for tomorrow. Moore and McTaggart agrees, and that they have, and now they don't want to just more than just survive, but thrive in assuming their rightful place on the earth. And Charles Xavier then goes on to say, "We have a plan. It's ambitious and long term. Join us, Eric. Join me. I won't acquiesce to sympathy or doubt, Charles. I won't give an inch. I will check you at every moment of weakness, and if you falter, know that I will not." Charles Xavier sticks his hand out. I expect nothing less. And they immediately shake hands. This is where I get a question I'm curious about. Now, the thing I'm curious about is regarding when does this exactly take place, because clearly Moore McTaggart tells Charles all this stuff with the mind reading when he still had legs, before the X-Men. So if I had to take a wild guess, that unless Jonathan Hickman decides to establish his own continuity that's not part of the main Marvel Universe, which is impossible, because there's no indication that is the case, I have reasons to believe, and this is my best guess, that this current cycle that Moore is in isn't, yes, it is confirmed to be the main Marvel Universe, but it's also interesting to note that it could be like, this is what happened. Charles Xavier saw these, Moore McTaggart went over the stuff, and but Charles was kind of adamant about doing what she visioned and what kind of stuff she did during her previous lives, like the assassination attempts, the murders, assigning with Apocalypse, and he wanted to try it his way first, but then as time went on, he becomes more jaded. I'm pretty sure getting killed by Cyclops as the Dark Phoenix didn't help much. Eventually made him realize Moore was right, and then it ultimately came to this moment where this alliance, this deadly alliance, so to speak, finally formed. So we cut to the title. The issue 2 is called "We Are Together Now, You and I." We then cut to X-Men Year 10 on the island nation of Krakoa. Yeah, I'm starting to get the feeling that this is more like a joke, more like part of this whole equation thing, and not really the time stream, because what we learn in Powers of X3 kind of leads to this interesting question, but I'll get to that. So we get to Krakoa, and Cyclops is asking a specific question. Okay, so what am I looking at here? A nightmare, a waking one, and the beginning of the end, unless I'm mistaken. These are the plans of a mother mold, a master mold that makes other master molds, in orbit around the sun. Plans referring to something that's scheduled to be built, or for something that already exists. As far as we can tell, construction's already been completed. It's just been in a dormant phase, ready for the right catalyst. Let me guess. A mutant whose reach exceeded his grasp. They called themselves Orcus, a collection of human scientists who are normally ideologically opposed to one another, but in mutantdom see a threat so great that they have bound together in order to stop us. According to the information Mystique stole, we discovered it's mostly X-Shield and advanced ID mechanic agents with some remnant of sword and hammer operators sprinkled in. If you're wondering about their level of conviction, they have also held their noses long enough to Operation Paperclip and a few X-Hydra as well. So what's the plan? It's quite simple. We cannot let the mother mold come online. Sure, because weather is always a sketchy proposition. You never know when it's going to start raining sentinels. There is that, but we have dealt with that before. Our urgency comes from projecting where this stagnation leads. We think the scale and resources imply a paradigm shift in the technology. Next generation Sentinels? I don't get it. They're already built for adaptation and improvisation. What could we think? I think this is where Nimrod becomes operational. Oh. Damn. Listen to me, Scott. They have to be stopped. Remember, this will be a frontal assault of an orbital station tens of millions of miles away, built a secret organization whose sole purpose is the extinction of mutant kind. Can such a thing be done? Does it need doing? Yes. Then it will be done. We then cut to X-Men Year 100, where we see Logan and Rasputin and Red Nightcrawler and the what looks like to be Magneto, but later is revealed this isn't Magneto. We're Wolverine discussing about something, and basically Logan's giving a report and how they've succeeded, and it's revealed when they give them this information, it's revealed to be none other than Apocalypse. And he's expressing the talk about information and how it would fall into the hands of the living, and how then we cut to Nimrod, and basically we get to the I am a generic evil bad guy, when he goes ahead and talks about a bunch of philosophical stuff, and then one of the human soldiers just gives like, no, really, I'd rather you keep talking to yourself. Much to one other guard's horror, where he just like, dude, you fucked up big time for us. I apologize. It's been a costly day. I'm tired. And you, my other human friend, are you weary as well? No, of course not, Nimrod. Yeah, I'm still having a hard time taking the name seriously. Like, I know he's been in the Marvel in the Marvel canon for a long time, from Days of Future Past, but I don't know why they decide to call him Nimrod. That's an insult. Like, it's hard to really take this guy seriously when he proceeds to overtly blast these two to oblivion. Like, Nimrod killed them. Oh. You didn't realize no one's going to take that name seriously, right? Yeah. So, yeah, Nimrod then proceeds to talk to the dead skeletal remains regarding about himself and philosophy and shutting up. And he wonders what they're looking for. And then we get to the gigantic living cocoa plant, and basically they're decoding this information that they've acquired. And Zorn is basically being depressing, or in Rasputin's case, fantastically depressing. A perfect teammate for the end times. Thank you, friend. Success. It's unlocked. Wolverine then says, you gotta be kidding me. A little mumbly nonsense and the world just opens up? I should have been born with brains. Well, you're born with immortality for the most part and regeneration, unless someone managed to destroy your entire cell structure. And the old man Magneto, which would be kind of fascinating more so, then just says, there's the node where they keep the information we're looking for. You know the problem with this, right? There's not going to be anyone left to use it. We only succeeded in getting this far because Purposeful made us invisible to the machines, and now we won't have that. We'll have to fight our way in, hold them off while we get the thing, and then fight our way out. It's a suicide mission. You understand that, right? I've never been more excited for anything in my life. And then Apocalypse then just talks about how if they are fit to survive, and they will go and take what they need, and then they will return. This is a promise whose guarantee is assured. For I will lead you to glorious victory! Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to work out perfectly. Then we cut about this information about Nimbus and about this time period. And then we cut to year 1000, which I will talk about what I think this is in issue 3, but we'll get to that. So, in the continuing tradition of Jonathan Hickman must create a very cosmic, powerful entity that basically is a god in all life and somehow more powerful than the Beyonders. We'll get to that. This blue alien mutant creature just says, "So Nimrod, did it work? Normally, civilizations are of our maturity only attract universal predators. This is because of the perceived value of the system is found in its celestial resources and not its living creatures. Or our system is a place to be mined and not preserved. Now, after hundreds of years of ugly skirmishes and quiet wars, we decided to convert Nimbus into a replicant world mine and show the universe what we are capable of. And it seems we are snared a giant. So, librarian, did it work? I think we're about to find out." Then this inky blackness comes out of space and takes form, where they say, "We, Felix, ate your world mind. Now give us more food to eat, and you shall be spared." They fought for sovereignty and lost, but we, Felix, saw the whispering gods behind it. We have heard your message, now hear ours. What do you seek? And one of the people says one word: ascension. And then the issue ends, and then we get to this moment where the planet is basically being consumed by this darkness that's very massive and everything, and looks like it's going to lead to this ascension process. And then we get to the types of societies regarding year 1000 and all this interesting world mind stuff and all this interesting and all this lore data in order to get this stuff. But now we end the issue with a quote from Professor X: "You must see now that there's no you and I, there's only us. We are together or we are nothing." And issue 2 ends of Powers of X, aka issue 3 of the 12 issue series. That is 2 series that are 1. We'll be back with the next edition of Powers of X issue 3, which will continue off where Powers of X issue 2 ended, and then we'll talk about House of X issue 3, and boy howdy, this was an interesting read. Jonathan Hickman once more continues to prove to everyone he is a genius at this. He's probably one of the few people left at Marvel that's consistently great. Like, I can't think of a bad writing he's done at Marvel. Like, I'm still reading his Image stuff, but yeah, he has been consistently good with all his works he's done, in my opinion. Like, I've enjoyed Time Runs Out, I've enjoyed Infinity, I've enjoyed his Avengers run, I've enjoyed the Secret Warriors. I've just been enjoying a lot of his Marvel work. I've been enjoying his Fantastic Four run, and it's just like, what can this man do now? Can do no wrong. And like I said, the only reason he's back at Marvel is because Marvel was like, "Oh shit, we can't lose him. If he goes to DC, we're fucked immensely," because DC was almost close to acquiring Jonathan Hickman's writing and talent, and they were trying to convince him, "Hey, if you come here with us, we'll give you the Justice League to work with." And let's be real, it would probably defeat his Avengers run because he'll probably have a lot of leeway to work with. Though, like, I'm not saying that Scott Snyder's bad at Justice League. He's pretty good at it. But it would be one of those interesting what ifs in my mind of, man, it would have been kind of awesome. It would have been cool to see how Jonathan Hickman would have taken the Justice League at. In fact, he probably would have tried to build. In fact, he probably would have built, just like with Secret Wars, he would have built all this up that would affect the whole DC unit multiverse, that would eventually lead to Crisis, his own version of Crisis, and everything. So that's my best bet. And involving hyper time travel, all the shtick that comes when it comes to DC Universe lore, it would have been one hell of a ride. And then you have the Legion of Doom and operating with that stuff, and operating with all the villains he could have worked with. So yeah, it would have been a very fascinating read if he went to DC, but we wouldn't have been getting these awesome X-Men comic stories. A lot of people, and basically at this point, this is basically what I could imagine someone, Jeff Johns, doing something like this, and he would call it X-Men Rebirth. Because this is literally what the House of X and Powers of X is basically is. It might as well be called X-Men Rebirth, and it would have sold. But sadly, Rebirth is pretty much a DC thing when it comes to comics. So yeah, Jonathan Hickman steals it again. I'm looking forward to talking about issue 3 of Powers of X, and then talking to you about House of X issue 3. It's going to be a wild ride. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.